Hello, 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 and welcome to the Priceless Opinion, a space rooted in perspective, fragrance, lifestyle, books, faith, and meaningful conversations. If you enjoy thoughtful conversations around growth, confidence, identity, and becoming comfortable in your own voice, make sure you subscribe below, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with someone. Before we get started, let's talk about my sin of the day because y'all know I just can't help myself. Today's sin of the day is Vivamor, main character. And I picked this one intentionally because this fragrance makes me happy. It feels like sunshine, joy, it feels effortless. Some fragrances make you think, some fragrances make you feel powerful, some even make you feel mysterious. This one reminds me to enjoy life. The bright fruits, the creamy sweetness is uplifting, it's fresh, and it just feels easy. It's one of those fragrances I grab when I don't want to overthink anything. I just want to smile, get on with my day, and enjoy the moment. And honestly, that's a lesson I wish I would have learned sooner. Because if I could sit down with my son and his generation, which is Generation Z, so his friends, and tell them a few things I've learned the hard way, this would be the conversation. Enjoying the moment, right? So, one thing I wish that I would have told me at 20 years old is stop waiting for your life to begin. And maybe they did and I just wasn't listening. However, this is what I would say. Um, don't wait until you lose the weight. Don't wait until you get the promotion. Don't wait until you find the relationship or buy the house. Don't wait until everything is just perfect. Because if you're always waiting for the next thing, you'll miss the chapter you're currently living in. So for a long time, I thought happiness was always somewhere ahead of me. When I get this, when I make this amount, when I've accomplished this, when my son is this age, or when we decide to move here, then I'll be happy. It will finally arrive. But every time I got to my next destination, there was another destination that I was trying to get to. There was another goal. There was another thing to chase. And before I knew it, years had passed by. So, to my son, I would say enjoy the season that you're in. He's currently in college, he's about to be a senior, and everything is not going to be perfect. Everything you don't have figured out, and that's okay. What you think your life will be like, it may not be, and that's okay. None of us have everything planned out, or none of us have things that went 110% right, right? So we just have to live in the moment. Another lesson I would say to him and his friends is take inventory of yourself. So know what matters to you, know what your boundaries are, and know what peace looks like to you, so you know that when someone is draining your peace or stealing your peace or bringing you peace or bringing you that happiness, you know what it looks like, and you don't have to second guess, right? And then think about what life you want to create. It takes 5 seconds of anger, overthinking, not thinking, not praying, or being overly anxious for things to change for the rest of your life. So if you don't define those things that I talked about, one day you'll wake up and you're living a life that looks good from the outside, but you're not feeling good on the inside. Or you make a rash decision that changed the trajectory of your life. There was an article that I read, I don't know, sometime this year or last year. It was on Facebook. But it was a guy who talked about how he had everything. He had the perfect wife, he had the perfect job, he did not have children yet, um, but he made a rash decision where he let anger, 5 minutes of anger, um, hurt someone. And it changed his life because he spent some time in jail. So you had the perfect life and you didn't think about what was stealing your joy, how to get out of certain situations, how to walk away, how to do those things. So you want to make sure that you take an inventory of who you are and how you can react in certain situations. Which reminds me of something I wrote in my blog years ago. A dear friend once asked me, Jay, what you running from? And my response was nothing. And honestly, now that I'm older, I can look back and see that question a little differently. Because back then I hadn't taken inventory of my life. I never stopped long enough to ask myself difficult questions. And then the older I got, the more powerful those questions were, right? So it wasn't like, what are you running from, or what what don't you have? It was more of, what do you see your life as? And then how can you make it happen, essentially. The number 3 lesson that I would tell my son is to ask better questions. When I was younger, I wanted answers. And I've always been the analytical person, and I've always wanted to know all of the answers to questions, right? So I asked a ton of questions. But I think that now it's not about just asking questions, it's the type of questions. Why are you making this decision? Is this actually making you happy? Are you doing this because you want to, or is it because someone else is? Even if it's me, if you think that it would be pleasing to me, are you doing it for you? And then the biggest one is, does this align with my values? So we know right from wrong. We know ethic standards. The quality of life often comes down to the quality of questions you're asking yourself, not others. And doing what is right and doing what is ethical are the better questions that we should be asking ourselves. And I think the final lesson that I would say to him and his generation, just from coming from my generation and my age, with the experience and the things that, no one taught me, or I didn't ask the right questions, right, on it, is don't confuse failure with finality. A bad chapter is not a bad life. A setback is not the end. A mistake is not your identity. And a disappointment is not your destiny. I think social media has created a lot of pressure. And I was reading a study online that says my son's generation, which is Generation Z, they don't know how to formulate sentences. Even crazier. But they know all of the TikTok dances. They know all of the content creators. They know all of these things, but they don't know the fundamentals. And social media can make it seem like everyone has everything figured out. But if you can't read, if you can't formulate a sentence, if you can't think for yourself, then what's really going on, right? Social media has a thing where everyone is winning, everyone is successful, everyone is confident, because they don't show the negative side of things. They don't show that, these performers, where they go and they have to get, their feet redone because they're in tight shoes all the time, or they haven't had sleep in 24 hours, or the millionaire that's this mega realtor tycoon, where his family has left him because he doesn't have time for them. So most people are figuring out one day at a time, just like you, is what I would tell him. Just like me, still at this age, this big old age, I'm still figuring it out. Um, and that while most people may think or look like they have it all together, they're still learning too. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why fragrances bring me so much joy. I know y'all are like, if this girl talk about fragrances one more time. But every day I choose a scent based on how I want to feel. And not because it reminds me of like changes I need to make or questions I need to ask, but it reminds me of how I choose to show up and how I choose to live. Um, if I could leave Generation Z and my son with one final thought, it would be, don't spend your entire life trying to arrive somewhere. Um, Learn how to appreciate where you are, because one day you'll look back and realize the moments you were rushing through were actually the moments that mattered. I can remember my grandparents saying, stop rushing to be old. Don't rush this. Don't rush that. And it was true. Don't rush it because time waits for no one. As Proverbs 27:9 reminds us, perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, and the pleasantness of a friend springs from their heartfelt advice. That's my advice to him and to his generation. And maybe that's why fragrance feels so fitting for today's conversation. Not because it's about smelling good, but because both fragrance and wisdom leave something behind, a lasting impression, a memory, a feeling, and a reminder to choose joy. Stay curious, keep becoming, and as always, stay priceless. Bye.